Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound Browns 3D on the OBR, brought to you by State Sharp Mower Sales and Service. I know nobody's ready for it, but you'll be thinking about your lawn soon enough. Look, we're going to continue just with the conversations with what is going to be a tremendous offseason for the Cleveland Browns, with what can possibly happen, the miles, will they, won't they, the quarterback talks. This is before we even get to the rest of the roster. Running back that needs help, wide receiver that needs help, tight end, offensive line, defensive line. What in the world's going on with Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah? The secondary. There are conversations to be had in abundance about this team. But my theory and what I truly believe, and we have big NFL media, outside Cleveland NFL media, we have Cleveland media, we have Cleveland fan base, you have schmucks like me, all trying to pontificate on what exactly Andrew Berry should or should not do this offseason in regards to the Cleveland Browns. The first thing Andrew Berry needs to do is turn off radio, turn off television. I doubt he was listening to this podcast anyway. Any of that. Andrew Berry's probably future in his future in Cleveland is on the line with what he does this offseason. And we all know the desperation and the giant black hole that exists right now for the Cleveland Browns at the quarterback position. Now, I'm not saying take one at 2 or not to take one at 2. But Andrew Berry needs to do everything this offseason with the goal of, I am doing it my way. Frank Sinatra this offseason if you were Andrew Berry. If it is Daniel Jones that you want, if it is Sam Darnold that you want, hell, if you want Aaron Rodgers, which now is a possibility, Kirk Cousins, whatever veteran it is, you need to get to that veteran and basically do whatever you need to do. If that's the guy you think that combined with a rookie quarterback can be the one where you end up spending another decade in this city. Get this team back into the playoffs. Get this team to the holy grail of an AFC championship game. Get this team to basically what is Oz, what would be the Super Bowl. It needs to be your plan if you are Andrew Berry. You need to tackle this any way you think is necessary. Veteran quarterback, maybe 2, because you got to keep in mind, if you're going to go after, and I'm just trying to say the names of the guys that we know for now should be available. Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones. I'll put Justin Fields in there. Aaron Rodgers. You need to put the effort and the clamps in, because any one of those guys are going to come here and basically tell you, I am not getting, we'll just say names, Cam Ward ready. I am not getting Shedeur Sanders ready. I am not getting Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe, whatever quarterback they draft. I am here to hopefully play 17 regular season games and playoff games for the Cleveland Browns. I have no interest whatsoever in grooming the next guy to take my job, because it's going to be a realistic conversation. Because whatever veteran quarterback you bring here, they're going to say, I want the ball. And I want 2025 to be mine. If they get pulled, they get pulled. It's just the way it goes. But their focus coming here will to be a quarterback that leads the Cleveland Browns to 10, 11, 12, 13 wins. That is what signing a veteran quarterback is going to do. All of these guys have some playoff experience. All of these guys have had tastes at varying degrees, certainly. Some early, some mid, some just a tiny bit. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers, not so much the last couple of years. But these are guys that you're looking at. Because even if you do think Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, and we'll just go with those because you hold number 2. Because right now, the Cleveland Browns could tell the world, I am taking Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders at 2. They're not going to do it. And heck, their minds could be made up that they are or they aren't going to do it. They know that is the one hold card they have. That is the one thing in their back pocket they know they have if they want it. I've got Cam Ward or I've got Shedeur Sanders. If that is their true intentions. Now, everything got lucky for the Cleveland Browns. And remember, we talked about this in the fall. There were people out there, well, I don't know what the Browns are going to do for the future at the quarterback position. They kind of need to maybe get lucky, kind of like the 49ers did with Brock Purdy. The Browns got extremely lucky to try and get out of this Deshaun Watson deal. They got crazy lucky to find themselves a path away from Deshaun Watson. Cap space, not an issue. Can create another $89 million with a drop of a hat. Finally, have draft capital again. 12 selections in the 2025 NFL draft. The problem is it just didn't necessarily break for them as far as players being possibly available at the quarterback position. Weak draft class. You don't want to go make another Deshaun Watson move. Not that you would, not that anybody, with the talent, not the off field, would be available this year. Trevor Lawrence is not available, whatever stupid that was today. And this shtick reporting aggravates the living daylights out of me. As opposed to just throwing something out there. Don't you kind of have an obligation, if this is what you do for a livelihood, to maybe just do a little general research? Well, Trevor Lawrence, how can that be? Trevor Lawrence hasn't even started his new contract yet. He was drafted in 20, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Hasn't even started his contract extension yet. You realize how much money the Jacksonville Jaguars would have to eat to even think about trading Trevor Lawrence? Do good work, but do better work, people. That stuff annoys the living daylights out of me. It's gotcha journalism. It's gotcha analysis. It sucks. It's terrible. Brings nothing to the table. And I hope that's why you all come here, to see us all over on the OBR. Now, there's a prevailing, thought, and I don't think a lot of people catch on to this, for what the Browns can do this year is, yes, you may not get that true answer at quarterback. And I think the sooner we all realize this, and I got to be honest, I think most do. Those who want Ward or Sanders, I think you're into the idea that these guys could be the guy. And I'm not going to tell you how to fan. And I don't blame you. And I know a lot of people, and this is kind of the premise of the conversations we had yesterday with Pete Smith, is, would you rather talk about the future of Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders? Or would you rather talk about the past of Deshaun Watson? Nobody wants to talk about that anymore. In any way whatsoever. Nobody wants to talk about that. So yes, I don't disagree with you all. We'd rather talk about the future of the next guy. Will we end up heartbroken? Maybe. I've been covering this team since 2017, and we've had some good times. And we certainly had some times where I've understand the lifelong misery that a lot of you as football fans have gone through. You're a tough bunch. You're a tough bunch, guys. I give you all that. But I think there's a lot of blindness to the fact that just because the Cleveland Browns can't get that fancy new franchise quarterback, that they still cannot have a very effective offseason in regards to rebuilding their roster. And that is something I have a firm disagree with. And we're going to talk about it. Look, late Easter this year, spring training's already begun. It's going to come a time, guys, and you're going to start worrying about the outside. You're going to start worrying about the lawn. You know, you always want the nicest one in town, right? That's every homeowner's dream, is you want to have the nicest lawn in town. Well, if you want to do that, I highly suggest that you guys check out State Sharpening Mower Sales and Service in Broadview Heights. If you are local to the Cleveland area, they are your one-stop shop for all things lawn equipment. Is there anything worse than missing the Browns games because you've got lawn chores to do? State has the best lineup of new Cub Cadet mowers to cut your mowing time down, as well as genuine parts and expert factory-trained technicians to get your existing mower back into peak shape. Whether you're in the market for the state-of-the-art Ultima Zero Turn or the Top Dog Enduro Series tractor, let State Sharpening and Cub Cadet help keep your weekend yours. They are veteran-owned. The Kane family are lifetime Clevelanders, lifetime Browns fans, and proud supporters of us here at the OBR. Again, if you are local to Cleveland, State Sharpening Mower Sales and Service in Broadview Heights is your hometown team for all your lawn equipment needs. All their info is at statesharp.com. That is STATESHARP.com. Now, there's some major dominoes the Cleveland Browns have to deal with, and certainly some questions that they cannot necessarily provide the answers to. Certainly the top of the list is number 95, Myles Garrett. Now, the Browns are in no position where they have to trade him. They just don't have to do it. And for Cleveland, and this is where it's, and look, you have to look at it legitimately. You do. But if you're the Browns, and if Myles' request is he wants to go compete for a Super Bowl, that probably means there's maybe, first things first, I'm going to ask Myles and his camp, well, who are these teams that are going to compete for the Super Bowl? And, Kansas City, Philadelphia, Buffalo, Baltimore. Who else is on the list? Because, if you want to leave to go play for a team that is going to compete for the Super Bowl, well, who are these teams? How can I negotiate a trade if you're telling me there's only certain places you want to go? Because basically you gave me a blank statement, but how do I know what the true answers are to that? Detroit. Now, the Browns, and what is easier for the Cleveland Browns? Finding a palatable offer from one of these contending teams. What did I just tell you a couple days ago? Oh, well, a lot of people want to connect the dots between Myles Garrett and, the Buffalo Bills. Okay, no problem. James Cook just told the Buffalo Bills he wants $15 million a year. Was probably the most important skill player on the Buffalo Bills offense last year. So that creates an issue. Good teams don't have a lot of cap. And if you've not maneuvered your salary cap the way the Cleveland Browns have for years now, it does become a little more difficult in year one to create a gap to compensate bringing in a player of Myles Garrett's financial status, contract-wise. Then there's, of this list of teams that I guess are acceptable as Super Bowl contenders, is there a palatable offer for the Cleveland Browns? Because right off the bat, it is 2 first-round picks. Because if I'm getting picks that are most likely going to be after pick 25, one ain't going to do it. Which is probably why the Cleveland Browns keep telling everybody they have no interest in doing this. I'm not sure how many good teams are going to say, I'll give up my next 2 first-round picks. And wait, there's more if I'm Andrew Berry. First off, I am looking at your quarterback room. And if there's anything there I want outside of your starter, it is going to be something I am coming to come get. You're going to have to give that to me as well. There may be another player involved, David Putney, because I feel like it. Or another pick. I'm not just giving Myles Garrett away. If I have, I will trade him if I am blown away. And that should be Andrew Berry's stance. Wow me into moving on from Myles Garrett. Currently the best defensive player in the NFL. I'm not just accommodating his wishes because he wants to go play for a Super Bowl contender. I better be blown away. Then the yang to that yin would be, is it easier for the Cleveland Browns, who can create another $89 million in cap space, to do enough work in free agency and also tell Myles, we will now make you, again, the highest paid defensive player in the NFL, that they can talk him off the ledge, appease him with some work they can do before they go to work in the draft? I'm not saying a Sam Darnold, Aaron Rodgers, Daniel Jones is enough that's going to say, have Myles Garrett take his head in out of the window and say, oh, wait, no, man, we're cool. We're cool. Never mind. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. I'm staying. No. But looking at a team like the Philadelphia Eagles, who have two solid defensive line players who are going to be free agents, Milton Williams and Josh Sweat, certainly entertaining one or two of those guys to come here. You're going to have to spend some money. And that's a conversation that needs to be had within the next month between the Browns and Myles Garrett's camp. Is there ever any coming back from this? Because otherwise, you can tell, and most likely, I guess it would start probably, a little before the combine, because usually at the combine is when all the conversations go on. It is not just about evaluating rookies. Trust me. Years ago, Joe Schobert and his family, I was very close with. One of the biggest things went on in the combine before Joe Schobert signed with the Jacksonville Jaguars was that Joe Schobert had been lied to by the previous administration and John Dorsey and said, we will get to you. We will make sure that you have this money. And if you remember, he did it for Kareem Hunt. That did not happen. Lied to Joe Schobert the entire year. Lied to his family. Bold face, straight to his face. And unfortunately, when we had that combine right before COVID took us all over, Joe Schobert's reps met with obviously Andrew Berry now, and Andrew, it's not something we were interested in doing. It wasn't Andrew Berry's fault. Joe Schobert certainly understood, but there was Joe Schobert, a guy who was drafted on day 3, worked his way up to become a really, really good football player for the Cleveland Browns, and realizing that no matter what, he couldn't stay. He wasn't wanted, and part of it was, and part of the reason that upset him the most is that he'd been lied to by the previous administration and told that he would be taken care of the same way they took care of a guy like Kareem Hunt, but they did not take care of a guy like Joe Schobert. Those are a lot of things that go on at the combine. So basically, Andrew Berry would tell Myles Garrett and his camp, okay, well, whoever your teams are that you feel are Super Bowl competitors, here you go. Give it to them. You want out, you find the team that's going to match this. And if that doesn't happen, I don't know what you want me to do. And that's a really tough thing. So for the Browns, is it easier to do some things that are going to bring Myles Garrett into the realization that he holds no cards here, and allow Andrew Berry to, again, and look, this is one of your biggest pet peeves with Andrew Berry is also what a lot of fans like about Andrew Berry is usually after free agency and the draft, what do we all do? We talk ourselves into it, and we think they're going to be good. We think they're going to be competitive, da-da-da-da-da. So we all thought he did a great job putting together a roster. Some years we were happy with the results. Others, we certainly were not. So this man can put together a roster on paper. We know it. We've seen it. We've also seen where the roster on paper has turned into success. Win-loss record success. So Andrew Berry, and he's always had this reputation of being a very good guy and a very nice guy. Well, it might be time to lose that reputation, and it might be time to change a little bit here and see what kind of general manager Andrew Berry can be when all of a sudden now he's backed into a corner. And his future in the city is on the line, certainly with his family, got young kids. Nobody wants to uproot. Want to lay down roots. So Andrew Berry might have to change his demeanor, change his style a little bit. I think also one of the bigger things we're going to need to see, and, I've always been a fan of Andrew Berry's work, but I think it's fair to say there were some times where, and this is draft-wise, where I thought maybe he didn't necessarily basically chase what was there. Went to the Italian restaurant and ordered the cheeseburger. There's been some good draft classes at tight end position the last couple of years. David Njoku is a tremendous part of the Cleveland Browns when they are good and they're successful. But times where David Njoku was injured or unavailable, you see what a tremendous loss it is on the offense. So for me, it's been one, well, why didn't we try to, and, I don't think you're just going to scoop up a rookie and expect him to be David Njoku. But if David is such an integral part of our success, wouldn't you want to get more in that tight end room? Certainly something I think they should expect to do. Get me a traditional hand in the ground tight end that I can throw the ball to maybe 10 times a season or less. There are a bunch of rookies out there. It is a very nice looking rookie class. I know you all love fanning at Bowling Green. Why not? 20 years old, that type of production. I don't think he's ever going to be a true inline tight end and give you all the things that David Njoku can. I think size-wise, he may be a limited, but I certainly would not be stunned if he was a guy that could give you 70 to 80 receptions a year, uses maybe a big slot. And also that way, if anything ever happened to David, your inline tight end you have, and you still have somebody to replicate the receiving aspect that David Njoku gives you. It's been tough for them running back wise. And because Nick Chubb was such an important part of this team and this offense for so many years, that this is a class where he's just not, you're going to have to take two. That is how deep this class is. And I'm fine. Browns with 5 picks in the top 103. I don't need you to use, if you want to, that's fine. I don't need you to take a running back with any of those 5 picks in the first 103. I will handle all that with the 7 picks I have remaining, and I will get 2 running backs. Class is stinking loaded. I can find 2 guys on day 3. If Nick wants to come back, that's fine. I got Jerome playing out his rookie contract as well. Good there. Defensive line. Mentioned Daniel Jeremiah. At this point, he's already up to 24 defensive tackles that'll be in this draft class. And I believe there's over 40 going to Indianapolis for the combine. And that's just defensive tackles. So if you like watching big men move, this is the NFL combine for you. 24 defensive tackles with a starting grade to this point. Get in on that. Defensive line play. Being able to, take down the snap count numbers because you have depth in numbers is such a major advantage. No offensive lineman ever comes off the field. Ever. But if you can play 8, 9 deep and start controlling snap counts for your guys, it gives you an absolute monstrous advantage. Defensive tackles, if you can't sign one in free agency, that's another position. Take 2. Take 2. There was a lot of missed tackles for the Cleveland Browns in 2024, as we all know. Certainly a lot of that has to come from the loss of Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. And there's a lot of talk in regards to JOK. And, what we at the OBR know to this point is that JOK is basically living his life normally. Very, very limited in what he can do working out wise. That's it. That's what we know. And normally, guys over here, I hear some things. There are guys here at the OBR who hear a lot of things. That's pretty much the best we got for you right now in Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, which is a huge, huge issue. There's no question about it. And, it makes you wonder where, and this is one of those ones where movement or no movement may tell us the story. If the Cleveland Browns, what they know and maybe what they're not sharing to know, or JOK is not sharing to know. You still have Hicks coming back. Bush would be a free agent. Buki Watson. There's other guys there. But if you see the Browns make, a free agent signing where you say, I wouldn't have seen that one coming. That's a little bit of money there. It could tell us maybe what we necessarily need to know in the regards of Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Wide receiver position. And I got to be honest with you. Look, I know quarterback talk dominates everything. But I'm surprised by the lack of conversation about the Cleveland Browns and how they're going to handle the wide receiver position in this offseason. This draft class ain't good. If you're going to go prominent defensive player at 2 or quarterback at 2, I'm not trying to tip anyone's hands or say anything I don't know. I don't know that there's going to be a receiver that you're going to fall in love with at 33. I think it would be another day 3 name. And the Browns, that's basically a whole bunch of guys that they got. I don't think, besides Jerry Jeudy, there's not another wide receiver, keeping in mind Elijah Moore's a free agent. There is not another wide receiver on this roster, I think, that has a season of more than 26 receptions. That is a major problem. That is a major, major problem. Yes, he is traded for and landed a wide receiver in 3 consecutive off seasons. I've actually given you the name a couple of times for the wide receivers to go chase, and Elijah Moore, and certainly in my affinity for Jerry Jeudy. I can't seem to find that guy yet this year. I keep combing rosters. And I'll be honest, the NFL, the way it is right now, there is top receivers, and then there's just bottom rung. There's no there's number 1 receivers. There's some number 2 receivers. There's no 3s or 4s where you say the situation there for them isn't the best. If you got them out of there, that limited production they have could double, could triple. There's not really anybody out there that just screams it like we did with Elijah Moore, like we did with Jerry Jeudy. I'll keep looking. And I'll try to find that guy. I just don't think that guy is necessarily there this year. Free agency, it cost you an arm and a leg and your firstborn and your firstborn's firstborn. There's not an avenue there. But the Browns really, really need to do something at the wide receiver position. And I'm not saying I don't think Cedric Tillman doesn't have a future, and I think Cedric Tillman was playing extremely well when unfortunately he got. By the end of the day, you look at what he's done to this point, and you can't just say, all right, well, that's our number 2 wide receiver, and it's set in stone. Do you maybe look to Tillman's former teammate at Tennessee, Jalen Hyatt with the New York Giants? That's a name I keep kind of maybe circling and trying to come back to as maybe somebody the Browns could go and scoop up. But the bottom line to all of this is Andrew Berry needs to handle this offseason and block out everything. We don't need to listen to national media. We don't need to listen to Cleveland media. White noise. And, instead of maybe being always the nice guy and working that angle, it's time for Andrew Berry to look. And a lot of general managers in the NFL, they're jerks. And it's my way or the highway. And, for Andrew, he wins a lot of negotiations more than he loses. But You're back to no corner as a general manager for the Cleveland Browns. And it's going to take a boatload of work, but he could get it done because he's got the assets in the draft and he's got the salary cap space. Andrew Berry absolutely needs to handle this all season like his gig is on the line, because it very well is. I am Jeff Lloyd, your host here at Browns 3D on the OBR. We appreciate everybody. We're trying to pump out this nightly content for you. You guys get fantastic written content all day long. Thanks for joining us all. You'll have All Eyes on Cleveland after me. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe over on Twitch. Thanks again to our sponsor, State Sharpening Mower Sales and Service. And we're just going to continue to do what we do here. And look, this is my favorite time of the season because we can feel like we have some input at this guy or that guy, how they handle game day. That's all on them. So with that, this has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. Browns 3D on the OBR. Talk to you all tomorrow.